here, so I can't.
Well, we're flying by the seat of our pants. I. Need to move.
Yes.
And we were ready to.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm happy with, you know, the selection.
No, I started a new job and I'm driving down Warren Street.
Oh,
I see Tom, and I'm waving at Tom. He's like, someone hit me. And I brought that up, seriously. My bad.
Okay,
No problem. Last night, we needed to get a quorum for a public hearing on some grant that it's like, you know.
Block grants, was it?
Yeah, well, I some grant for, you know, it should be, you know, it's done.
Well,
We didn't have a quorum.
thank you.
And
It was just a apology. For being late? For last month.
oh,
For my flaking.
I thought you quit because I became ADA.
No, not that easy.
I'm like, oh no.
take it.
Did we maybe to get the quorum for it?
We waited 15 minutes to get the quorum.
Yeah.
I guess Tom was calling someone and said, get your ass in here. I'm on remote. Then, and so Michelle gives like a 3-minute, you know, a recap of what this is all about.
Yeah.
And no question, we had to sit there for another 5 minutes because you have to have a minimum of 15 minutes or something like that. So, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
We do have Linda Fenoff is here, Carol Osterink is here, and Ronald Kupnicki is here. They are joining us.
Okay, hello, everyone. It's 6 PM, July 25th, 2024. And we're bringing the Public Works Board for the City of Hudson to order. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. We have the full committee here. My name is Gary Pernagan, and I'm the chairperson for the board.
My name is Justin Weaver. I'm the relatively new mayoral aide and ADA coordinator for the city of Hudson.
Jason Foster, Commissioner of Public Works.
I'm George Dorner, I'm just a citizen.
David Marston, citizen.
Engaged citizen.
Engaged citizen.
Okay, is there any past business? I think, did we get the minutes up there from last? We're getting that sorted out, so we'll have the minutes from last,
Yes, the city clerk's office did create a meetings section, a minutes section within the Public Works board page on the city website, so that it has been created. So any minutes can now be uploaded to that section.
Great. Okay, let's start in, we have a lot to cover. Jason, can you give us a report on what's been going on?
So specifically, Justin and I have met with Crawford and Associates twice. Once it's kind of just to kick off. Ryan Locke and Andy. And Jen was in the first meeting. Good group, really liked them. They seem to understand everything we wanted. Focusing on the DOJ area of Warren Street and the numbered streets that go to city facilities. And so DPW focused on a small budget to handle modifications, repairs to ADA ramps from 3rd to 7th on Warren Street. So the second meeting we had with Crawford Associates, they presented their look at the intersection of the alley just south of Warren. I don't know what's that?
Was it Cherry Alley and?
Yeah, Cherry and Third, which is the first connection to the youth department. It's not a very long distance, but that's the first city facility that falls in that area. And so you have, they sent a drawing.
Yeah, let me share my screen and I'm going to attempt to pull up city.
See, what he's pulling up is a drawing, then analyzing the intersection as to what it has, what it needs to meet the requirements. Basically, it needs ramps at 3 corners. You can do an ADA compliant situation without doing all 4 corners because the person can loop. And that's what they're proposing. So it's right in front of Feaston for it. There's an existing crosswalk, which would maintain that perpendicular. Can you scroll down one, Justin?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So that's that existing crosswalk, and there's the youth department van. And then Feaston for it on the left. And you can see the ramps, so the little white squares. So that would be how they approach doing the first intersection, or just putting that out to bid. So they discussed the possibility of, is there a chance that an intersection like this costs less than $35,000, which would ease the requirements for public bidding, make things go a little faster? They even asked Justin and I, we thought they should jump on doing that, putting it out for bid. And on the spot, we said we'd rather talk to the board about it. And that they should consider, start doing the same type of thing on Fifth, which is the next street up, and head to the library. Fourth Street is not included. I'm never sure why, but the voting plenty.
I'm sorry, when you say non-included, is that looking at the DOJ list or
Yes.
our priority list?
Yeah, they specified certain locations. They did not include the polling place at Fourth and State, but they did include the library. So right now, Crawford should be looking at these same type of ideas for what exists at Fifth. And then they have ways of putting out to bid that would include bid the whole package, but could this be separate? And they have ways of doing that. And you didn't feel like, with regarding the DOJ,
Right,
we
so,
needed to jump on this or not?
right, so the last communication I had with Elise Bates, who's the representative from the DOJ. I let her know that after communicating with all parties, it looked as if we could satisfy her most recent request of having at least a couple curb ramps completed by the beginning of August. That was a relatively new request because we had more time. According to her, she wanted something by October, and now she wants to see at least a couple, so.
By Lowe's.
But by the beginning of August,
Next week.
right.
Well, things are happening.
Well, that's the next thing I was gonna say. Initially, it looked as if, Louise might be a little bit behind on the DRI. But they're already doing work on the intersection at First and Warren. And it looks as if there will be a couple curb ramps completed before, or by the first week of August. And we can include those to present to her, which will really help our case in buying a little bit more time to get the Crawford project up and running. So I think if we have, she'll be happy with one. She wants a couple. She wants to just see a real effort on our part that we are taking all this very seriously.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, well, first of all, whoever's doing the work down on First and Warren, it's very aggressive. And one of the homeowners that they really ripped up their sidewalk had no prior notice. And that bothers me a lot. But with that said, I've heard that they were actually visiting the Chamber of Commerce today and announcing to them that they'll also be working on Front and Warren. So, I have mixed views. I'd like to think, this is important to me personally. I think for the board, I want to be able to notify homeowners that their sidewalk's gonna get ripped up tomorrow or as much time as possible. Does any one person right now have the total schedule? Because there's a couple of different players going on.
We have the schedule for the DRI project, which is separate from what we're doing, but Crawford is still, they haven't even sent out the RFPs yet, which are.
There's still a plan.
They're
So
the
is
planning
the only
stage.
one we need to worry about is the DRI.
What do you mean by worry?
Well, I'm worried in terms of, I wanna be able to, whoever they're gonna rip up on Monday, sidewalk, I wanna let them know now. And so if we know where they're gonna be on Monday, I'd like to get that information.
Well, you should speak with Department of Public Works, because that's not an issue for this board.
Right, that's separate.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I think our responsibility is towards the sidewalk improvement overall, and we're offloading some work to the DPW.
No, that is not, so, you're talking about yet another issue that I can update you on. So I have met with, Precision Sidewalk. Remember their whole name, but it's, to bid on repair of sidewalk of ADA ramps from Third to Seventh along Warren. That is work that you could say that this board has shifted to DPW. The DRI project has been in the works for years. It is, goes beyond sidewalks, happens to include sidewalks,
Get that.
but I don't feel that it's, I actually don't feel like either of those things are issues for this board.
But the DPW has.
Well, I mean, it's the whole city, the DRI is, but
Specifically the DRI.
the DRI is being handled through DPW and.
So they do have it. Do you have the schedule?
The schedule is posted on the city website underneath the DRI section.
As to what's going
The
to be?
exact schedule and where they're going to be and what they're exactly doing.
Perfect.
Everything is dated and very specific as to what exactly is happening within that time frame at each location from front to second.
Great.
Whether it's a tree removal, whether it's curb installation, it's very specific. I may have a copy of it here as well if you want to take a peek of it.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
That is what's referred to as the Hudson Streetscapes project underneath DRI.
See that.
That's a good way to put it. Thank you.
What's that?
That's good to remember every now and then.
Well,
because
there's
multiple projects.
technically 3 different projects going on simultaneously, so it's easy to lump them all together and say we're doing sidewalks. But they're all very specific with different timeframes, with different companies, with different workers. So,
Yeah.
and I can see how the general public can be confused because sometimes we get confused unless we remind ourselves who's doing what and when. I do like the idea of being able to tell people when, but if there are concerns, just to make everything easy, we can refer them to the city website. I think it is our responsibility to put that out there on the city website when we have the actual schedules like we've already done for this one. Crawford knows that we need a very specific schedule. They are cognizant of the time frame, the request from the DOJ, the ADA specifications. When they are putting out the RFPs, the language it will state all the ADA specifications. We want to see examples of ADA specific work they have done in the past. And they're working on the schedule. As soon as they get the schedule, we'll have it and we'll post it.
Great. Okay, so that covers the, everything that's been going on from your point of view with.
No, with Crawford, but they really finished the point about the, sidewalk repair work.
I'm sorry.
The sidewalk repair work, from Third through Seventh, we've not received the estimate yet. The, contractors that they needed to ask some questions, which they're gonna ask tomorrow morning at 10. And said they would have a proposal by the end of the day and then could start within 2 to 3 weeks.
And that's precision
Yes,
sidewalk.
versus sidewalk.
And that's-
They,
And that's all ramps, third to seventh, you said?
there's a few that don't need to be touched,
Right.
but
But
Yes.
it doesn't need it.
any of them that need it,
That's
it's
probably
it's usually at least 3 per intersection.
Right.
And it's done in a cutting fashion instead of a grinding, which creates less dust and comes out a little better. They did work around Seventh Street Park years ago, maybe
Okay.
a decade ago.
Nice.
But they're well liked.
Yeah.
And we're hoping their number comes in under 35,000, and I want to present what they proposed to this group in case we want to use them for certain things, like they also are very good at between ADA ramps and fixing sidewalks, because cutting does well for them.
Right.
But
So this funding will come out of the money that we've set aside for the DPW.
yes,
Very good.
and the other portion of it will be for painting, which is yet to be scheduled, but
The crosswalks.
the crosswalks, and mostly the 88 parking spaces in the municipal lots, one crosswalk. But you want to talk about crosswalks, since we talked about it at Crawford,
In what sense?
of how this group used crosswalks?
Well, crosswalks need to be lined up with the curb ramps. So we have a lot of misaligned crosswalks in the city that don't match up with the current curb ramps. So the goal is to line those up to satisfy the DOJ. She's pointed out a number of them, and I would think, as just an everyday layperson, that whoever's doing the work on the curb ramps, if they're gonna go ahead and put a fresh crosswalk, they would line it up, but
I was also feeling like, particularly these routes to public buildings should include crosswalks connecting the ramps. I actually feel that falls under us. But I think that's up for debate, that's why I'm bringing it up. So to get to the library from Warren Street, if we install ramps, do we also contract crosswalks?
I would say yes, because how do you have proper curb ramps without proper crosswalks?
I mean, that's ADA compliance, right?
That is complete ADA compliance.
So, well, it's,
There's not really a question in our minds, but however, it's something that needs to be brought before the board. to
I think
agree on.
Gary mentioned in the past, you'd rather focus on repairing sidewalks
no,
than budgeting for crosswalks. And I just, because of this budget that we have is only so much.
right.
And so if we spend money on crosswalks, we can repair less sidewalks.
Does someone like Precision Sidewalk do that? Do they include that in the scope of work, or is that a separate?
No, we've met with another group that's painting. We have a really good sub
Yeah,
that's worked with the city a lot that does painting for us.
okay,
And so, and even Crawford suggested that you separate painting,
right,
because all the contractors will just sub it out if you hire them.
I see.
So we basically have an option to, once one team finishes the curb ramp, does the other team come in right behind them and do the crosswalk? Or do we finish all of the curb ramps first, then go back with a separate project to do all the crosswalks? If I'm understanding.
Yeah, and whether that fits under Crawford and whether that comes out of our budget.
Now, DPW, I know, has the paint machine to do some work, right?
I think, yeah, and I think they do it on a really small project basis. And the other way that striping gets done is the county hires. They gather all the municipalities in the county. And they said, we have this striping contractor for these months, what do you need done?
Yeah,
And then you pay a set fee, like each linear foot of crosswalk, you just take it off the list and you just write it down and that's what you pay.
right.
So that a few different ways. So that type of striping that you're talking about is really just done on like a repair type basis.
Right, or parking spots.
Something got paved over, at least be touched up, right?
Well, I mean, I tend to agree with you, Justin, on the first, like, put in the ramps and we do the painting right on the feels of it, so then we can say that's gonna be.
Yeah.
Rather than doing all the ramps and then doing the crosswalks in another scope of work. But I don't know, in terms of scheduling, putting that out, if that's more complicated or.
But implied in that is an answer to my question, which was, do we handle that?
I mean, I think
Versus who?
Versus just not doing the crosswalks and waiting till maybe DPW creates a budget to do sidewalks, to do crosswalks, or it's a separate project. I think it's a part of this.
I think it falls under our scope also.
I think it's.
Yeah.
I think it's.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it'll give us some work to show that it's gonna. Yeah, in a sense of it, but it is two separate contractors, so you gotta kind of. There's gonna be a little lag, but
Yeah, Crawford can manage that.
Would we want Crawford to manage it? Because it sounded as if there's an option. Or do we want to manage that ourselves?
I don't,
Crawford give us the alignments for the meeting.
oh, I don't think that's.
You know, that way, at least, even if you don't do the crosswalk right away, you could have a sketch in Crawford that shows what the alignment is. So you could just dish that out to the striping contractors.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think Crawford.
They seem amazing. I mean, from the 2 meetings that we've had. And I think it would be easier to have,
That's the role of the project manager, it sounds.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Right, now, I'd like maybe clarification. So we're saying two separate contracts. Do we want it, one ramp gets fixed and we bring the contractor in, or I would suggest, can we do 3rd to 7th? And then wait till and then once that's finished, then have the painters come in and do 3rd through 7th.
That's what Crawford wants to manage for us, is figuring that out,
Figuring it out, so we'll leave it to them.
making that recommendation. They definitely want us to think about this idea of trying to do bunches of small projects versus bidding the whole thing. So not the whole city, but the whole DOJ area.
Would this normally fall within DPW's budgetary forecasting, this type of work?
No, but they don't have a budget. That's why we had to create this.
Right.
If you're
That's why it exists.
responsible for it.
Right. This is almost net
It
new.
used to be property.
Right.
Yeah, until this was created. I was supposed to write a letter to the property owner saying, fix your sidewalk.
No, I mean the painting aspect.
That's not.
Oh, well, that's something that we're talking about. There is a small budget for, like maintenance of crosswalks
Earmarked in DPW.
in the DPW, and it wants to grow.
But it's maintenance.
But it's maintenance,
This is
so
a project that's associated.
Right, but I
with
think-
ADA.
the next budget go round. Myself, others I've spoken with, want to increase that budget, so DPW can do more,
Yeah.
but,
I mean, because sorry to interrupt you, a sidewalk contractor could also be kind of given notice by this board that, look, find yourself a striping. To follow you right away, right?
no, that's another way to go about it, is to just contract the whole thing. But Crawford thought they could manage handling it in 2 separate pieces and still get it done in a reasonable amount of time.
I'd like to go back to, I'm sorry, but let's move on. It'll come back to me in a moment. Oh, no, I'm sorry. So Crawford and Associates are sort of suggesting that we should think of this in terms of piecemeal. Doing small projects under RFP scope.
Yeah, Justin, do you have a good sense of why? So I'm not sure I have a good way of explaining why they wanted to do that, other than maybe you could create a relationship with one contractor without ending up with this, putting something out to bid that ends up with a low bidder situation where you have less
Did it,
choice in who you're bidding to.
wasn't it something to do with the cost? Because if you presented the whole entire project, it has a whole entire cost, and smaller projects have a smaller cost. And for some reason, that might be,
Oh, because of the type of some contractors are small, could handle this. But they're,
Sort of bonding
They're-
limitations or something.
no, it's like, picture the pickup guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You could do one intersection,
Yeah.
but you need the 10 pickup company with the dump truck that's gonna do 20 intersections at once.
But it would seem to me that the guy who can do a lot more will charge us less.
That's, I agree.
It seems. So I think what I'm hearing is, let's Crawford and Sons figure this out and offer us the options.
That is there,
Well-
I'm sorry, does
Yeah.
the city have a like requirements contract deal that, you know, it has a set of items and that they bid on, and then we just feed them, okay, now we want you to go over to Seventh and Warren.
You can't due to the bidding process. Anything over 35,000 needs to be a public bid. And you can you basically post it and anyone can bid on it.
So that's it, so that's our threshold.
One of my thoughts is, they may have suggested that as a way of expeditiously moving forward.
That was part of it.
And now I'm getting the sense, we don't need them to be shovels in the ground
No,
with
we need,
everything else that's going
we
on.
need Louisi and Precision to be that. We don't need Crawford. to
Right.
do that.
So if they understand that and they still suggest it's a viable option, we listen and go from there.
No, we said that. That's what we told them.
Okay, good. Okay, anything else from the ADA standpoint or, Public Works?
I'm going to monitor the progress, at First and Warren and wait until I hear from Elise with the DOJ. I mean, I wanted to run that past the board also. I think that's the best approach. If I were to tell her, well, we've started, she's the type of person that wants to see a photo and she wants to see, and it's just more pressure than what is necessary. I think we're at a good place right now, being that work has already begun under the DRI. That's gonna help us to be able to present something to her. And she was also vague about the first week of August. First she said the beginning of August, then she said the first week of August. As long as she knows, I've already provided her the schedule for the DRI work. Once we get the schedule, which should probably be coming, I would say, as soon as,
No more tomorrow. I hope on that.
well, no later by the end of next week, we should have some sort of schedule. At least from Crawford, right, that I can provide her too.
Is that the Precision Group?
No, I should know tomorrow more about Precision.
Precision, okay,
And then
that's.
he should know more. before you-
Yeah, it's juggling. We should definitely have a Crawford schedule by the end of next week, and he should know more regarding Precision sidewalk tomorrow.
Awesome, great.
And once we have,
This should satisfy at least her most
Yeah.
anxious.
I think she'll be very happy, you know.
But I think, all right, to go back to Crawford, one thing we did say, and I think it's still true about timeliness. We should do something headed towards a contract before October.
Oh, for sure.
Contract some work, if not get some work in the ground with Crawford by October. So it's not nothing, that's not no, that's not,
No, that's
and
fantastic.
that may be why they wanna not publicly bid it,
Yeah. Yeah,
cause even that's tight.
cause that's gotta be what, 90 days open and then
I think it's 9, it is
30 days evaluation, another.
Yeah, it takes a long time. I think that's why they're still looking at the piecemeal right here.
Right.
But with that, they weren't even 100% sure that that wouldn't cost more than 35,000 to do Third and Cherry Island.
Really, to do those three.
Because they were unclear about whether you needed asphalt across the alleys,
Yeah.
whether you needed to do asphalt work, and if it included painting. They're like, what did they say, like 5,000 per ramp, and there's 4,
Figure.
Yeah.
and then if you need to paint and asphalt, it
Yeah.
probably would squeeze under, but
Right.
they're just close enough to think about.
Well, and that'll help us kind of think about numbers in terms of what, I mean, it feels kind of wide, see the costs. Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay, anything else? Pretty much covers it. Great. Assessment calculations, let's talk about that. So they're gonna start working on that. I did a post on Facebook and I had the formula wrong. So you've clarified it, I appreciate that, I'm gonna.
Margaret helped me do that.
Well, I'm glad it's done. And it's gonna be a lot cheaper than I proposed, so, that's a good thing too. But the assessments, what do we need to do to assist Crawford and Sons to be able to help us get an assessment for each property, right?
Well, I owed some, right, around trying to get the GIS data from the county, so we could at least begin, I think, estimating linear feet, which should be a relatively easy calculation if I can get the right files
So
to do that.
Crawford had an overlay map, and it might even be on the map you have. Each property shows its frontage.
It does,
Yeah, and I don't, and assume it's in the tabulated formula somewhere.
yeah. Because then we can just run the calculation. And then
Yes.
have a
Um,
baseline.
And I think we've all come to agree that the square footage is the square footage from the tax assessment page.
Yeah,
But at the time, I was thinking we were doing 2,500 properties. We're probably doing more like 500 properties. Cause it's just non-residential or residential above 4 units. That's the way.
that's not the standard fee.
Right, the standard
Right.
fee is what, $100 per property?
Property.
And then beyond, it's 200 plus linear feet plus square feet.
Right.
And that's, the best I could tell from the tax data was that's the property code's 400.
Hmm.
Anything 200 is clearly residential. Anything 300, you may have to suss out, I don't know how you find out if a unit has 3 or 4 trade rentals. That might be harder, but that's to be dug into about, I don't know, it's a problem. I mean, I wish it didn't have it.
Yeah.
So do we need to get you, Dave, connected with Crawford and Sons to have a discussion about this?
Yeah, Jason had sent me the contact of the county. I wasn't able to get anything from them. I think it would be helpful. I do think we just need a data set of what we're looking at that we can kind of review and
We left our next meeting with Crawford up in the air until we all met.
okay.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second. Margaret does have a question. Are we waiting till the very end?
Yeah, let's,
We're gonna wait till the very end to take questions. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Dave, do you have availability to attend?
I do, just not during the day. I'm on site at work, got a new job. Friday afternoons, however, I do work from home, so I could take Friday afternoon off or take a couple hours off, if that works.
Probably just an hour meeting, but
Okay,
if you could coordinate to attend
yeah,
the next Crawford meeting,
that'd be great. I'd love to.
which as I understand it, we need to limit to 2 people to avoid a quorum,
Okay,
to avoid any issue,
okay,
which I don't think is a problem,
okay.
but.
Now,
Just.
I was wondering about that. Is that only if we're making decisions in a meeting or that you just can't have that number? That's,
any discussions around it, you know, the,
okay,
what the board is all about.
gotcha.
I'm not sure we need it, but a couple of
If
people
you, if
attend,
you guys, so you two are gonna go to the next meeting, is that what you're saying, or?
between you or I,
Okay,
and then maybe we'll get Dave in on we'll start emailing, please Dave, so that you can drive the time.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So we'll figure out the next meeting and then loop everybody in.
Sounds good, sounds good. And when do we need to provide the actual numbers, the final numbers, which need to take, well, I don't know if it needs to take into exemptions and things like that. Maybe not, maybe it's after a homeowner receives it and says, hey, I just did $10,000 last year. You know, I'm starting to think of the process involved here.
So I'm gonna be a prime candidate to help with that process because I'm gonna have to decide what's in the next year. So I'm definitely interested in that.
Do the
I
math.
think we're talking about a couple things, like the exemption application. Be great, you to work on.
Yeah,
To the other part, I think implied in your question, of when do we need to, by March. We need to have been working with the county with some testing up. And then we finalize it, I think, by May, something like that, but in the spring. There's a whole process of getting this, they have to input it into their system to be able to bill people.
So we'll need to validate our assessment calculations, our sort of appeasement or exemption process.
With the contract I sent you
Yeah,
and just work with them.
okay.
And then
And you said,
I think they would, what I've heard, and you should confirm with them, because this is just through people. But like March, we have tested it, and then May, you need to say it's final.
Yeah.
And go.
got it.
And so, I'm sorry, final go means what? That we give the data set?
They're gonna bill based on it. They're gonna include it in your taxes,
Yeah.
in your tax bill.
Now, so does the appeal for exemption or deductions, whatever, come after they receive the notice, or does that?
I mean.
Is that for us?
That, figure it out.
Yeah.
There's an exemption list. Like 150 properties
Can I
now.
go back 1 second? Sure. It'll get put on the county tax number for the resident. Is that what we're saying?
There's only one way to bill it. It won't be a separate thing. It will
Right, right.
come in your county tax bill.
It will come in the county tax bill.
That's why I understand it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can continue to ask
Yeah,
this
yeah,
question
yeah.
and figure that out.
Yeah. I was like, before I was imagining it'd be like water and sewer, how we build,
I kind of thought the same.
you know, quarterly, they have their own notification procedures, their own.
Whatever maybe when Margaret speaks, she can explain why, but I
Okay.
think people feel it's better coming from taxes. Because it could have been a way to collect it, but
But there's administrative.
it was thought about when they created it.
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else that we need to discuss before turning it over to the public? That's good.
Gary, you feel you had a schedule in here and I was just curious, you felt comfortable about how to get notification out for DRI stuff and everything down the first report?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna
I
take,
tend to agree. with you. I know it's not this board's purview, but it will be reflected.
it's just the right thing to do, I think, you know, period, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's all, and, you know.
If someone shows up with the jackhammer, it's gonna be uncomfortable.
I would have been yelling yesterday, you know, versus my neighbors, you know, so, yeah, exactly. Okay, so the next meeting will be August 22nd. That the next to last Thursday, is that right? Do I have that right?
yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay. So do we have any questions or comments from the public?
Yes, Margaret has been waiting. Let me just, if I can get her. Margaret, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go
I just had two comments from the history of when we were putting this together, which I don't think any of you were involved in. So first of all, with regard to the contractor, the concept at the time was that we would have a contractor who would undertake all of the work and also have the ability for, so, this is going to take some time to do various areas in the city and so forth, but residents would be able to work with that contractor using the pricing, because it's reduced cost when you have a large volume of work, that residents will be able to work with that contractor if they wanted to redo their sidewalk, whatever, and then they could use that contractor and get the city pricing to do it. That was one of the concepts that was out there. And then obviously, in terms of exemptions, if the law says that it's a 10-year period for the lifespan of a sidewalk. So if I replace my sidewalk using the city contractor, then I submit my receipts, etc., and I have up to 10 years of not having to pay the levy because I have done the work. So that was the concept when we were talking about how to structure the contracting. That's the first thing. Then when you were talking about assessments, I just want to point you to all of the various building codes that were written into the law. Michael Hoffman, Justin, your predecessor, and I went back through all of the various codes in the city, and the way you identify whether or not a property is a flat rate $100 property or not is based upon the code. So the whole issue of frontage and so forth, that is for properties that do not fall within that set of codes that define a property as being flat rate only with $0 maintenance. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Margaret, sorry, can you comment on the way the billing through taxes versus billing through, say, the water bill? And
I am pretty sure that Heather, like the whole timeline on this is relating to putting it into the tax bills. But that's really a question for Heather. I'm pretty sure that's why you have this March date and everything has to be done in a certain time frame so that it can be put into it would be put into, I believe it will be put into the tax bills, but I think that's really a Heather question.
Margaret, I have a question regarding the ability for a homeowner, a building owner to work directly with a city contractor. What you're referring to is if they're looking for drainage,
No.
heating.
No, I'm talking about sidewalks, specifically sidewalks.
Okay,
So-
but I don't follow, because if they have to be replaced, we're taking that work on.
Yes, but it's going to take a considerable amount of time to get that work done, first of all. The priority was on the locations identified by DOJ for ADA compliance. So my sidewalk might not be on anybody's radar for some time, but I still want to replace it and bring it up to speed. I want it to do whatever. And Peter Buzhinov, who was the previous commissioner, was talking in terms of having this contractor who would bill a certain amount per linear foot, whatever, and then the residents would be able to engage that contractor if they wanted to have their sidewalk done, and then they would have receipts, etc., from that work. That would mean they wouldn't have to pay this levy for a 10-year period from when they do the work. But it's specifically about sidewalks.
So it really comes down to if the homeowner wants to get work done before, or even if they don't need to have it done, or before we're scheduling it, they can do it. They can get the. Go ahead.
Yeah. That was the idea.
Thank you. I've not read that anywhere.
No, it's not in the law. It's not in the law, but when we were talking it through and talking about coming up with a contractor and getting pricing based on scale, the idea was that it would be less expensive for me as a resident to go with the city contractor because I would get the city rate than if I were to independently go out and hire somebody to do my sidewalk. That was the idea.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Anybody else? Okay, we're about 6:45, but I think we've covered a lot of ground here. And, it looks like we're moving forward. We have good grasp of the issue.
Yeah.
So, bravo to everyone here. And, specifically Jason and Justin, thank you guys.
Quick question. What's Lisa's, how do you spell her name?
ALYSE,
What's her last name?
Bass, BASS.
And she's, where's she based? Albany?
I think near Washington, decision.
Yeah, she's not here. I'd have to look that up.
If you don't mind, just to be clear, he is the point person with her.
Oh, no, I don't want to reach out to her. I just want to know who she was.
Oh, okay.
That name at DOJ.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, it's part of what I remind myself that our goal is to get the DOJ steps to do it. So that's what I'm saying.
I will find out where she's based out of though for next time. I can email you.
Yeah.
That would be impressive, she's flying up just to see you from
We have a
Washington.
great, we actually have a very good relationship.
It sounds like
I actually,
We need.
I like her.
That's right.
She was here for Flag Day, right?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's how she was able to observe some of the.
Oh, the clock accomplishments.
Yeah.
Well, my second day on the job, she was in town and I walked the streets with her and it was just like, what's happening? But
Second day.
we hugged it out. We hugged it out afterwards and yeah,
Well done.
so.
Okay, I thank everyone who's joined us online, and do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
okay, thank you all.
Thanks.
Wondering, can I just hit leave? Yeah.
You don't mind me asking, what's your new job?
For Genera,
And me.
housing company.
Yeah. Who else is on there?
Yeah.